Picture this, a packed juke joint in 1930s Mississippi. The music is raw, electric, alive. People are dancing like the world outside can't touch them. And then, something walks through that door that isn't human. And guys, what happens next isn't just horror. It's a metaphor so perfectly crafted that it will change how you see American history forever. This is Sinners, 2025, directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan in a dual role that might be the performance of his entire career. On the surface, it's a vampire movie set in the Deep South. But Decoders, I need you to hear me. This film is hiding something beneath the blood and the blues that nobody is decoding properly. Stay with me, folks, because what Cinephile Decoded uncovered in this film will make you want to re-watch it immediately, with completely different eyes. Our story begins with two brothers coming home. Smoke and Stack, twins, both played by Michael B. Jordan, roll back into Clarksdale, Mississippi in the early 1930s. They've got money, sharp clothes, and scars that don't show on the surface. But here's where things take a dark turn. These two didn't earn their fortunes honestly. Stack came back from the trenches of World War I, carrying wounds no doctor can treat. Smoke survived the criminal underworld of Chicago, where he did things that still jolt him awake at night. They're both sinners, the title tells you up front. Their dream is simple but radical. They want to build a juke joint, a place where black folks in Jim Crow, Mississippi can walk through a door and feel free. Dance, drink, breathe. In a world designed to suffocate them, this little building is supposed to be oxygen. They find an old property outside town and start building. They recruit local musicians, and that's where we meet Sammy. Guys, pay close attention to Sammy. He's their young cousin, barely grown, and he plays guitar like his fingers are wired to something divine. But Sammy's caught between two worlds, his church, where his family needs him, and the blues, which calls to something deeper inside him. And right here, the movie shows you something for exactly 2 seconds. The camera lingers on the threshold of that juke joint, the doorway itself. Blink and you miss it, but I caught it, and trust me, it changes everything. I'll explain when we get there. The movie peels back who these brothers truly are. Stack in the WWI trenches, surrounded by carnage in a war that wasn't his, fighting for a country that won't serve him at a lunch counter back home. Smoke in Chicago, moving through smoke-filled rooms where loyalty means nothing and violence is currency. Both brothers soaked in sin, both trying to wash it off by building something beautiful. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, the juke joint takes shape. They bring in Delta Slim, a blues musician whose voice sounds like heartbreak given a body. They convince Sammy to pick up his guitar, not for church hymns, but for the blues. And folks, the tension in Sammy's family over this choice is a war all its own. Choosing the blues means choosing the devil's music. At least, that's what they believe. Remember that choice. It becomes the most important decision anyone makes in this entire film. Opening night arrives, and Decoders, this sequence is cinema at its absolute peak. The juke joint is packed, bodies moving, sweat on the walls. Sammy's guitar cuts through the room like lightning, and for a few perfect minutes, every soul in that building is free. Coogler shoots it like a prayer. The camera spins, the music swells, and you genuinely feel what it means to have a space that belongs to you in a world that gives you nothing. Guys, this scene? This is the one that had me staring at my ceiling at 3 a.m. because you know it can't last. And then he shows up. Remmick, played by Jack O'Connell with this eerie, magnetic charm that makes your skin crawl. He walks up to the juke joint with a small group. They're pale, they're smiling too wide, and something about them feels deeply, fundamentally wrong. Now, pay close attention to this detail. It's going to absolutely destroy you later. Remmick doesn't force his way in. He can't. He stands at that threshold, that same doorway the camera lingered on earlier, and he waits. He asks to come inside. He's polite, charming even. I'm telling you right now, 90% of people watching this didn't catch the real meaning of that moment. If you did, you're built different. Drop a brain in the comments. Okay, pause. Before I tell you what happens next, what would you do? A stranger at your door, middle of the night, something wrong behind his eyes. Do you let him in? Someone does. Someone in that juke joint opens the door wide and invites Remmick inside. And the second he crosses that threshold, the temperature of the entire movie drops. You feel it in your chest. The music doesn't stop, but it shifts. Something ancient and starving just entered the room. Okay, decoders, stop everything, because what I'm about to tell you is going to make you rewind this video. Remmick isn't just any vampire. He was turned during the Irish potato famine, the 1840s. He was starving, dying. Something ancient found him and gave him one choice: consume or be consumed. Here's why that matters. Remmick was once the oppressed. His people were colonized, starved, brutalized by an empire. And what did he become? The exact thing that destroyed him. He crossed an ocean and started feeding on people who look like Smoke and Stack. Everything you've seen so far, every charming smile, every polite request, it's a pattern that's been repeating for centuries. And this movie just showed you exactly how it works. This is not just a movie. This is a warning. And then, the twist nobody saw coming. What happens next is absolutely savage. The vampires don't just attack, they feast. The juke joint becomes a nightmare. People running, screaming, falling. The brothers fight back with everything, but these things aren't human. They're faster, stronger, centuries old. And I know what you're thinking. It's a vampire flick. What did you expect? But remember that scene from earlier, Sammy choosing the blues over the church? Yeah, it all connects here, and it's brutal. But wait, we're not done yet. In the middle of all this carnage, Sammy does something extraordinary. He plays, not hymns, the blues. Raw, unfiltered, born from suffering blues. And the vampires react. They recoil. The music hurts them. The sound of centuries of black pain and resilience channeled through 6 steel strings becomes a weapon more powerful than any fist or bullet. I had to watch this scene 3 times before I understood what really happened. The blues, music born from slavery, from suffering, from the deepest human anguish, is the one thing evil cannot swallow because it was already forged in fire. The brothers make their final stand. And guys, one of them doesn't walk out of that room whole. He makes a choice nobody can come back from. He gives everything, so the others survive, so the music survives. And this is why this movie lives rent-free in my head. Sinners was never just a vampire movie. The vampires are the system, their colonialism with fangs, their every force in history that showed up to black spaces, black music, black joy, black culture, and consumed it, took it, profited from it, left the creators with nothing. Now, here's what Cinephile Decode caught that nobody's talking about. The vampires need an invitation. That is the most devastating metaphor in the entire film. Oppressive systems don't always kick the door down. Sometimes they smile. Sometimes they're polite. Sometimes they wait until someone, out of courtesy or fear or exhaustion, opens the door and says, "Come in." And once they're inside, they never leave willingly. Here's the part that genuinely broke me. Remmick being Irish is not random. Coogler is making a razor-sharp historical point. The Irish arrived in America as the oppressed, starved, colonized, despised. Within a generation, many assimilated into whiteness and turned that same violence onto black communities. Remmick is that cycle made flesh, the oppressed becoming the oppressor. It's the most brilliant piece of horror metaphor I've seen on any screen. And Sammy's blues guitar? The director hid this in plain sight and nobody caught it. Sammy had to reject the church, the music of obedience, and choose the blues, the music of lived experience. That choice saves everyone. The film is saying that authentic cultural expression, art born from real pain, unfiltered, never made comfortable for consumption, is the only force powerful enough to fight back. You're gonna want to rewatch this film after I tell you this. Go back to the opening. Watch Sammy's hands when he plays in church versus when he plays in the juke joint. Completely different grip, completely different person. Coogler choreographed it from frame one. And that, Decoders, is how it all ends. Not with a tidy victory, but with music still playing, with culture still breathing, with the understanding that the monsters will always come knocking, but the song never dies. Every system of oppression in history needed someone on the inside to say yes. So who's opening the door in your world? Drop your answer in the comments. I genuinely want to hear it. If this decode hit you different, you're a true decoder. Hit subscribe because I've decoded over 200 films on this channel, and this one hits different. And if you thought this metaphor was layered, wait until you see what I pulled apart in Get Out. It goes even deeper than you think. It's right here. I'll see you there, decoders.